pray. Jesus, right now, God, we do just pause, God, and just calm our hearts, God, and ask that you would speak to us, Lord. We're just so honored, God, to be a part of what you're doing here. So excited, God, to see your mission moving forward, God. So excited to see, God, just these seats at capacity constantly, Lord, around here as people are inviting and sharing their faith, God. It's just amazing to watch your mission move forward. Lord, I pray that you would just engage our hearts right now, God, in giving and serving and getting connected, God. Engage our hearts, God, in your word, Lord. We ask you to speak to us, God. Help me not to say too much or too little, God. I pray that you would just guide me through this time, Lord, and that you would speak to each of our hearts. We just open our hearts to you, Jesus, right now. We love you, Jesus, in your name. Amen.
Usually a date for us is watching a movie on Netflix or just sitting on the back deck, just the two of us, and
Going
talking.
for a walk.
Yeah, going for a walk.
Yeah, we enjoy cooking together.
He's kind of a jokester, and our whole family are kind of jokesters, so we joke a lot. We love to go camping, and that's one thing that we kind of intentionally do as a family.
Not be so serious for me.
Yeah, me too. I'm really serious. So.
Yeah.
Relax and get a sitter.
That's some good advice right there. You want to have some fun in your marriage, get a sitter. Amen? Amen. The last couple weeks and the next few weeks, we are in a series called From This Day Forward. As a church, we are learning what it looks like to literally fail-proof our marriages. We haven't done a marriage series like this in several years as a church, and so excited to talk about what God has called us to in our marriages. See, if you're single in the room or soon to be married in the room, we believe that God has been speaking to all of us really over the last few weeks. And we've been making 5 commitments to fail-proof our marriages. And we really believe that God has given us an opportunity as we would arrange our hearts and our lives around His design, His call, the way He made marriage to be. We have the opportunity to experience the joy and the hope, the freedom, the life that is possible in marriage. And I'm praying that all of our hearts are moving towards God's design for our marriages this week. The 5 commitments are this. We were learning how to seek God. 2 weeks ago, we talked about seeking God. How many of you were here for that? We're learning how to seek the one with our two. Seek the one. God is our number one priority, and our spouse or our future spouse as the number 2. We seek the one with our two. Last week, my wife, didn't she do an amazing job? Can we just thank her for being up here with me? We were learning how to fight fair. We had to talk about conflict and resolving conflict in marriage and in relationship, and God is teaching us how to fight fair. That's a commitment we're making. This week is have fun. Next week is stay pure. And then the following week is to never give up. I want you to write these 5 commitments down on the top of your notes there if you haven't already done it. We're learning how to seek God, how to fight fair, how to have fun, how to stay pure, and how to never give up. Now, I want you to participate with me because I'm trying to sink these into our hearts. These 5 commitments. So I want you to say them out loud with me. Here we go. We are learning how to seek God, fight fair, have fun, stay pure, and never give up. Amen? These are the commitments we're making. Today, we're going to learn how to have some fun. Are you ready for that? I need to learn how to have some more fun, and so I'm excited to preach to myself here in the next few minutes. Here's the thing. I'm gonna take you to the Old Testament here in a few minutes, and if you got a Bible or a Bible app, in fact, I want you to turn there now to the Song of Solomon. Those of you that are church people or know the Bible start to snicker right now. Song of Solomon, chapter 7 is where we're going to go. As we look at the Old Testament here, we're going to see a picture of a biblical man and a woman. We're going to see a picture of marriage, and we're going to see really, I would say if we were to capture the essence of fun in marriage, we're going to see a picture of intimacy. We're going to see a picture of what godly intimacy looks like in a marriage setting. Now, as a single person, I want you to listen with these ears of what could be and what should be in your life in the years to come, in the days to come, in the relationships to come. I think many times we are sold images of what intimacy kind of looks like or false versions of it. And I believe that God is going to give us a picture of His heart for intimacy today as we learn to have fun in our marriages, in our relationships. And see, here's the deal. I want you to think back with me for a moment. When you're married in the room, you first fell in love. Like those first few conversations and like just how overwhelmed you were with those conversations and the intimacy that you were growing in and developing and was being built. Like I remember Katie and I, it was like late 2000, right? Like I just had my first Nokia cell phone. It was like baby blue, and it had, the keypad and the little readout up there and the little antenna. You guys remember those Nokias, right? And oh man, I loved it because I could drop her off at her dorm room. I could drop my girlfriend at the time off at her dorm room, and I lived off campus with some guys, and so I had about a 10 or 15 minute drive, and so as soon as she would get to her room, I would make sure that her phone was ringing, right, with my cell phone, like my Nokia was ringing, right, and it just like heated up my ear all the way home, and I got to just continue the dialogue, continue the date or whatever. We just spent maybe the last 3 hours eating yogurt or something, like that. And now I got to call her and we got to stay engaged. And there was not like this, kind of like lackluster thing about it. It was super exciting. It was super fun to be engaged and to be growing in intimacy with her. And it brought this passion, it brought this spark, this fire, this excitement to my life and to our lives and to our relationship. And so I was just thinking about man, if you would just put yourself back there for a moment today. Put yourself back in those spots and that excitement and how much fun it was to fall in love. Like you don't hear about people falling in love like this. Man, I'm madly in love. He's so boring. He is like super lame, and we have nothing to talk about. Oh, it's so awesome, right? That's not how it goes, is it? It's like, oh, you wouldn't believe it. We talked till 2 a.m. and we didn't even talk. We just listened to each other breathe on the phone, that's the kind of excitement, right? That I want you to put yourself back there today for a moment, because we're going to have some fun, and we need to learn how to develop this intimacy in our marriages and in our relationships. And I want to say something about intimacy before we move on. In fact, really just to kind of guide our conversation today. I believe that intimacy is developed and enjoyed in our relationships. It's not something that we just kind of happen upon or arrive at. It's not something that some people have and other people don't. Well, they've just got it going on. Like they just got there. They're lucky ones or whatever. They're really in love. How come we're not in love? Intimacy, I believe, fun, enjoyment in our marriage is developed and enjoyed. It doesn't just happen. Ecclesiastes 9, I put it there in your notes. I'm going to read it to you. The writer says this: live happily with the woman you love through all the meaningless days of life that God has given you under the sun. The wife God gives you is your reward for all of your earthly toil. This marriage, this spouse that you have been given is your reward. What happens sadly though is as the fun evaporates, as the intimacy kind of goes away, like they stop being our reward and start just being our roommate, don't they? They stop being this source of joy and happiness and just kind of become a business partner in this life that we're trying to toil our way through. And our hope and our heart would be to kind of remove some of that burden of marriage and bring some of the intimacy and the fun of what could be as you get to share life with your best friend, your hopefully soon-to-be best friend. And I believe that this is God's heart and God's design for marriage. And so we're going to look at some types of fun. In fact, 3 types of fun that I believe develop intimacy in every marriage. And these types of fun, you're going to remember them, okay? And I want you to remember them on purpose. And I want to thank so much our friends at Life Church for all the resources, all the help on this series. We wouldn't be doing this without their help. They've been awesome on this. So 3 types of fun that develop intimacy in every marriage. Look at Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, chapter 7. Look at verse 1. So this is Solomon talking to his wife. So the man talking to his wife, and he's doing it in a very intimate way. He's not just having a casual conversation. It's a very intimate conversation. If you're new to the Bible, yes, this is in the Bible, okay? You with me? All right. I want you to write this down. The first type of fun is face-to-face. Hear Solomon as he describes his wife in intimate detail to her. How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O noble daughter. He's talking to her, right? Men, take notes on this. This is good stuff right here, fellows. We need to learn some stuff right here. Your rounded thighs are like jewels. all the kids, I had like 4 high schoolers come up to me after last service like, Richie, you should have warned us. I'm sitting next to my mom, man. Like, this is like the worst service ever. Like, I had one guy said, man, that was the worst day of my life. Thanks, Richie. You should have told us so. If you're in high school in the room, I'm sorry. You just bear with us here. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master hand. Your navel, right, is a rounded bowl that never lacks mixed wine. It's intoxicating. Your belly, I don't know why he's saying this, is a heap of wheat, okay, encircled with lilies. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle. I'm just going to keep reading now, okay? Your neck is like an ivory tower. It's complimentary, right? Your eyes are like pools in Heshbon. You've been to Heshbon, right? By the gate of Bath Rabim. That's a really pretty spot, apparently, okay? Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon, which looks toward Damascus. It's a picture of strength. Her nose is a picture of strength. Apparently it's big. I don't know, but he's excited about it. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I want us to learn. In this face-to-face conversation, we see the man taking the lead and bringing an immense amount of detail to the conversation. I want you to understand this. Like, man, for us to take some notes right here would be really helpful. Like, he is really focused 100%, passionately looking intently, understanding who his wife is and describing her to herself. Like, what woman wouldn't want to hear about how awesome she is, right? Like, women in the room, can I get an amen on that? Yeah, what wife would not want to hear how amazing she is to her husband? What's so cool about this is the picture of the man just intentionally engaging in a very detailed conversation, face-to-face conversation with his wife. As men, we struggle with this, don't we? I do. Like, we were just out on a date a couple weeks ago, and my wife's right here, and there's like ESPN right here on the TV. Like we had to get up, we had to move, didn't we, kid? We switched seats because I'm like, yeah, and she's like, what are you looking at? What's over there? What's behind? And I'm like, we just got to switch. It's football and it's bad, okay? Like we got to switch. And the Seahawks won on Thursday, by the way. And face-to-face, intimate, detailed conversation. Here's the thing that we can learn, fellas, in the room on this, is that we need to learn to initiate the way Solomon initiates in this conversation with his wife, detailed, face-to-face, intimate conversations that bring intimacy. I'll just say it this way. Intimacy is developed in the details. And the ladies in the room understand how much they appreciate the details of what's going on in her, what's going on in me. Like, where am I at? Where are you at? What's going on in your heart? Like, if all you talk about is the weather and the business of the kids to here to there, like it's really kind of surfacey and like lacking massively in detail and kind of fun, right? It's just like getting stuff done, getting life done. And here's a picture of intimacy that's being developed as he's intentionally diving into the details of who she is, like her favorite subject, right? Like, my favorite subject, if we're self-centered people, right? Like, I think that's how we are. And maybe I'm the only one that struggles with self-centeredness in the room, I guess, huh? We love hearing about this, and I just want you to understand this. Like, here is a picture of detailed intimacy in a marriage. And it's not like, it's not like, boy, I hope that this leads to somewhere that, is going to be really fun here in a few hours. Like, we just see, like, him just pouring out his heart to his wife. Man, for so many of us men in the room, I know this makes us uncomfortable or this is a struggle, but I love that in the biblical picture here, we see this intimate face-to-face conversation. And as men, I want to challenge us this way. Like, I want to call us to a place of intentionality where we are trying to create this kind of atmosphere, where you're trying to find a sitter, like she said on the video, right? Where you're setting these moments up, where maybe you're not spending a lot of money. You're like, man, I can't take her on a date all the time or whatever. We don't have, fine, like, put the kids to bed and put the candles on and like figure out a face-to-face conversation, like have questions, have ideas about what to talk about. I mean, I know so many of us struggle this way. We got this for you, especially you guys in the room. It's for everybody, for some date ideas. We in fact, we had our staff put together some of the best dates that they've been on recently here locally. And then on the back is a bunch of conversation starters. Just some ideas, like take turns sharing what you appreciate about each other. That's what Solomon's doing here, right? you know what I love about you, babe? Let's start with your toes, right? And he just kind of works his way all the way up, right? Like this is one of the greatest conversations. Dream about God's plan for you as a couple. Like, what would that look like? What does God want for us? Like, we got you this on the way out the door. Some of you men, like, this is going to be like your ticket for the next couple months. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 6 or 7 dates on here. Like, this is gold right here. You understand? Like, these are some opportunities for you to be intentional in your marriage and start to build some intimacy into that relationship and start having some face-to-face fun in your marriage. I quoted you a passage last week. I wanted to read it to you today. It's in 1 Peter 3. He says to the husbands, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life. Listen, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Like the word understanding here is literally the word translated as study or being studious about or investigating. Like these are moments face to face where we start to bring a massive amount of fun and really an adventure to our relationship as we're discovering who each other is and what's going on in each other's hearts. For many of us, this is probably going to start with some confession, probably some getting some junk out of the way. It's hard to have an intimate face-to-face conversation when you're harboring bitterness and unforgiveness towards each other. You need to go back and listen to last week's message on how to fight fair. But some of us, maybe that's where this conversation is going to start, but it's going to grow from there. And it's going to be a lot of fun as you start to investigate, men, and study your wife with the same passion that you would study anything else in this life. I want to call us to lead the way as men in this, because that's how this picture looks biblically here. And I believe that that's the kind of people, that's the kind of church that God has called us to be. The second kind of fun, though, I want you to write this down, is side to side. Side to side fun. Now, Song of Solomon, we fast forward a few verses to verses 11 and 12. And in this passage, now his wife is actually speaking back to Solomon. So here, ladies, I want you to listen up in the room. Like she is doing something. She's initiating something here. She's kind of putting herself out there with some ideas and some creativity. Listen to what she says to her husband. Come, my beloved. Let us go out into the fields and lodge in the villages. That sounds like an adventure, doesn't it? Let us go out early to the vineyards and see whether the vines have budded. It's springtime, hint, hint. Whether the grape blossoms have opened and the pomegranates are in bloom. I love that in the passage here. This is her idea. This is her initiating a sense of adventure in their marriage. This is her saying, hey, let's go do this together. Hey, let's go camping together. You heard that on the screen. Like, we bought this old 1978 motorhome. It's like, we call it the Shaggin' Wagon. It is amazing. And that thing has got like, I don't know, probably like 20 or 25 different crazy, amazing family memories in just in the last few years that we've had the thing. And moments like this, like we could not like trade these and would not trade these for anything. These have become moments of intimacy growing in our marriage, in our relationship with our girls. Like there's been, I mean, we were just on a trip at the beginning of August and I think it was like 100 degrees outside. This thing has zero air conditioning. And we're like holding each other's hands as sweat is pouring down our arms, you know, and our shirts are soaked and we're cruising up to the lake. So excited to jump in the lake when we get there. Like a moment like that is just like an adventure. And like, ladies, if you want to speak to a man, like this sense of adventure is what he craves. This is what he's looking for. This is why he wants to go hunting with the fellas or go win fantasy football or go do these different things. It's because he's craving this kind of like side-to-side intimacy where he can just like, it was so classic. We were lifting weights this last week and guy walks in and he wants to use the bench, right? Remember this? He wants to use the bench and we're all standing there. We just finished lifting something and he just kind of goes this like grunt, nod, points at it. And we all kind of nod, and he picks it up and walks away. Like that kind of moment, right? That's like what guys just kind of love. We don't have to communicate a ton, and we're on this like adventure together, just kind of like figuring stuff out. Man, for you as a woman to intentionally create those kind of moments, that sense of adventure in your marriage is so critical for the kind of fun, the kind of intimacy that you want to develop. See, intimacy, I believe, not only is developed in the details, but it's also developed in these moments of shared experiences where we're side by side, where we're on an adventure. I remember going back to when Katie and I were first dating, it was awesome. I knew it was going to happen. So we were dating, and she went home for Christmas break. We were in Seattle. She's from Coeur d'Alene. She went home to Coeur d'Alene, and she came back early from Christmas break. I was like, yes, like it's good, because she didn't have to study nothing. She wanted to study me. Like she wanted to get home to see me, right? Like I'm like, this is good news. Like this is going to be good. So just a few weeks later, the semester had started, and we planned a trip. I got to go, like, ask your parents for permission. Like, I want to date you, and I don't want to just date you just to date you. Like, I want to date you to marry you. Like, you are it, and we are going to get married, and we got to figure this out. And, of course, I wasn't saying all this to her, but I'm like, I need to talk to your dad. I need to talk to your parents. Like, we need to get this kind of relationship squared away, and I want to start right with, like, God's heart in the middle of this marriage, or in this relationship. And so, we planned a trip, and it's like late on a Friday night. I had to work or something, and we were planning on getting here late Friday night to Coeur d'Alene to visit her family. It was going to be the first time I met them, right? First impressions are everything, right? Like super important, right? How many of you know this, right? If you want to show up well-dressed and teeth brushed and like, right, full of vigor and excitement, well, we got in the car, and I had this awesome 1986 Volkswagen Jetta. I will never buy a Volkswagen again, by the way. And this car had like this electrical demon in it. I had no idea what it was, but I hated it. And I got it for like $1,000, and it was worth like $100. And I had her jump in with me. She's 19 at the time. All you dads in the room with teenagers, just think. Put yourself in his shoes, right? 21-year-old dude taking his 19-year-old daughter, across the state of Washington in the middle of a January snowstorm. I don't know if you've driven from Seattle to Spokane in the snow, but it's good, right? It's long. And here's what happened. The car, I don't know. I still don't know. I think I sold it to somebody, and he fixed it and sold it for 3 times as much. But the headlights started dimming, like as we're going, it's dark, it's snowing like crazy, and the windshield wipers start going slower and slower. And like pretty soon, like there is absolutely zero electrical function in the entire car. Like no headlights on I-90 at 9 o'clock at night. In the middle of a snowstorm, no windshield wipers at all. Like, this is not a safe situation, right? Katie's with me and her roommate's with me, and we're starting to brainstorm, like, how are we going to get to Spokane? We made it as far as the Columbia River. We made it to Vantage, right? And we got to this truck stop, and we pulled up, and we're like, well, I got this great idea. Maybe one of these truckers guys will let us ride with him all the way to Spokane. And I rolled down the window and said, excuse me, sir, can we ride with you to Spokane? He goes, well, my truck has lights. And both the girls started screaming and yelling at me to roll up the window like the lights were going to get us or something, And we quickly moved on to the next gas station. We got to the gas station, and the car stopped completely, dead, died. It's like 9 o'clock at night. We're in the middle of Washington State, not anywhere near where we need to be, and we're stuck at a gas station, and we start going, well, how are we going to get to Coeur d'Alene? And so we start asking everybody in the convenience store, hey, which way are you going, east or west? Which direction are you going? And we found this mom and her daughter, and they wanted to give us a ride. And so here I am. First time meeting my soon-to-be future in-laws, and I bring their 19-year-old daughter literally hitchhiking across the state of Washington to come meet them. Not only that, we get there at like midnight, and we call her mom and ask her mom to pick us up in Spokane in the middle of the night, right? This is like great first impression. They chain smoked the entire time. We get in this car, and they're literally handing each other cigarettes the whole time, and we're just like kind of blasted out in the back with the windows open. Like this kind of adventure, I'll just tell you, like you can hear my wife giggling up here. This kind of adventure brings this kind of fun to our marriages. Man, we didn't plan that stuff, right? But these are the kind of moments, though, that you just love and you love to retell. Like these are the moments that we need to develop the side-to-side kind of intimacy and relationship and a lot of fun in our marriages. I want you to look with me just another verse later in this Song of Solomon, chapter 7 here. Verse 11 and 12, she's again initiating. Come, my beloved, let us go out into the fields and lodge in the villages. Let us go out early to the vineyards and see whether the vines have budded, whether the grape blossoms have opened and the pomegranates are in bloom. Listen to what she says. There I will give you my love. Now, this is not like a figurative thing. This is there we will make love. There we will have sex. There we are going to engage in belly button to belly button kind of fun. I want you to write that down. Third kind of fun, okay? Belly button to belly button kind of fun. I want you to remember this. You're going to remember this, aren't you? Are you kidding me? First time to real life, and dude's preaching about sex. Welcome to real life, right? This is part of what we got to talk about here. And when it comes to us having marriages that are fail-proof, right? Zoom out with me for a second. Like, these are the kind of marriages that last. Marriages that are committed to face-to-face, side-to-side, and intimate belly button to belly button kind of fun. This kind of intimacy where she says, I will give you my love. Listen to what the writer of Proverbs, Solomon, says in chapter 5. He says, let your wife, to the men, be a fountain of blessing for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving deer, a graceful doe. Let her breasts satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love. This kind of fun, again, does not just happen. This kind of fun does not just kind of sneak up on you and go, wow, how did that happen? If you think back to the beginning of your relationship, as you got to know each other more and more face to face, the long conversations, as you spent more time together in the adventures of life and kind of tackling circumstances together, this intimacy grew and grew toward a place where you could not wait to experience this kind of belly button to belly button kind of fun with each other. The intimacy, though, grew to this spot. And that's the thing about sex and healthy sex in marriage is it's really born from a place of intimacy. It's really fruit of intimacy already being developed and enjoyed in your marriage. And I want this to really kind of sink into our hearts, like good, healthy sex in your marriage comes from good, intentional development of intimacy and enjoyment in your marriage. Does that make sense? Like it's a process that's grown. It's a fruit that's grown on a tree of intimacy that's being nurtured and developed through time and energy and intentionality. It's not something that maybe some movie or some kind of Hollywood thing would sell you like it's just this passionate, kind of lustful thing that just overtakes you and then it's always supposed to be like that. All the married people in the room know how much of a crock that is, right? Like how much effort it takes for us to experience intimacy in our marriages in this sexual way. Now, for us to have a wrong picture of intimacy, and so many of us have grown up, man, I talked to people after the last service where sex was such a negative, it was such a dirty thing growing up. It's like, stay away from that, like don't ever do that. Like never explain within the context of marriage, never given the proper boundaries or the proper kind of healthy perspective. And so maybe it's this tainted or this broken thing, or maybe because of past relationships, you got baggage and you got hurt when it comes to physical intimacy. And so there's fears or maybe this insecurity about who you are or how you look or all these different things because there's comparison going on in your mind and your heart. Or maybe there's been lack of purity and lack of trust in your marriage. And so there's this schism of kind of like, man, I can't trust him. I can't give him my body, or I can't trust her with this, or I'm not good enough for that. And all this brokenness plays in to this place. And here's the thing. This is the call, again, is to go back to the beginning and look. Like intimacy is developed and it's enjoyed in marriage. Biblical, healthy marriage with biblical and healthy sex is developed and nurtured over time. It's not on or off. It's not like you have it or you don't. It's grown and it's invested in your marriage. The level of intimacy that you have face to face and side to side will determine the level of intimacy that you have when it comes to belly button to belly button. You understanding where I'm at? Good. Okay. Like 4 of us are really excited. Everybody else has got red faces right now for some reason. I want to say this. He says in Proverbs 5, 18 and 19, always be captivated by her love. Like, men, if you're in the room and you struggle with like purity in your marriage or your thought life, like here's the thing. Like every bit of passion that you have, here's what the proverb is saying. Aim all of that passion, all of that desire at one person, at your wife. As you aim all of that, this word captivated is like a lion devouring, pouncing on its prey. Like that's the picture, right? That's the Hebrew word of like, go, like attack, like get it. The word is haga, like literally that's how you say it, like haga, like you gotta jump on, right? That's the word. But here's the thing, like captivated. That's like all of my passion, all of my focus, all of my energy. It's trained at one person. Every bit of all of my energy is trained right there. And as you do that, I guarantee you, she's gonna be like, what got into this guy, right? Like, what happened here? She's gonna be like wondering about you and where you've been in your mind and in your heart. Where has he been? Because it hasn't been like this. And as you and I learn to focus all of our passion and be captivated by her love this way, we begin to develop this kind of intimacy in our relationship, in our sexual life, in our marriages. The thing that I'll say to you single people, you got to know this, like this part of the conversation is reserved for married people. Like this is God's design, is one woman and one man for life. Like that's where sex, like we're describing, exists. Outside of that, it's sinful. It's wrong. It's not what God has. It's destroying to you and to your future. And God doesn't want that for you, and nobody wants that for you. Everybody wants us to experience what we're describing, what Solomon and his lover are describing here. Like we want that for us. But outside of God's design, we are going to struggle. You're young, and I know you're awkward because you're sitting next to your parents right now, and you're like, Richie, I hate you right now, whatever. Listen, here's the deal. Like if you would just understand, like if you can learn to put all of this kind of passion towards becoming somebody that is going to experience this in a real and a godly relationship someday, I believe that God can use you this way. God can shape you this way. God is going to protect you from all that baggage that I was just describing, that some of the people that you're sitting around right now are wrestling with. And the intimacy is struggling in their marriage because of all those poor choices. Like, learn to just give God your complete attention right now and trust that he's going to bring this kind of intimacy as he leads your life. And I'm praying this way for men. Like, how many of you have heard men in the room, like, men are like microwaves and women are like crock pots? Have you guys heard that before? Not very many of us. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I mean. Men are like microwaves, right? You push the button and you hit start, and then like 30 seconds later, it's done, right? It's like turn it on and it's ready, right? Crock pot, right? It takes all day to simmer, right? It takes all day to cook. You got to get all the right ingredients in there. You got to have some of the face-to-face time. You got to have some of the side-to-side time, and then and then when it's ready, it's good, right? Like it's ready. But the difference is massive, right? Like for those of us that think like you're a guy in the room and you think like a microwave, because you are, right? Like you're like on or off. You're like, your wife looks at you sideways and you're like, yeah, like you just hit the go button, babe, right? Like you just hit start on this microwave here. I want you to really be passionate, men, about learning how to enjoy sex as fruit of your investment in the rest of your relationship. Learn to make your passion about the face-to-face and the side-to-side investment, knowing that this woman saying to her husband, come on, let's go to the countryside, and I'm going to give you my love there. Like those are going to be like music to your ears, man, right? But you got to do the work beforehand, right? Got to put the ingredients in the crock pot. You got to turn it on. Some of you have no idea how to even plug the thing in, okay? And that's going to like massively revolutionize your marriage and your sexual intimacy in marriage. Is you got to learn how to do this thing right. To the women in the room, I want to say it this way. Many times, you're probably in spots where maybe he hasn't been trustworthy. He hasn't been somebody worth like giving your body to. Maybe you've broken trust, or maybe there's still tension in your marriage, and there's maybe some frustration. And I just say at a bottom line, you don't feel connected. At a bottom line, you don't feel like it's I shouldn't maybe have sex with him right now because I'm not really loving him right now. And I just want to encourage you this way, ladies in the room. I think there's always going to be times, and this comes from talking with my wife, okay? So this is not just me like talking off, in Richie land here. There's going to be times where you've got to learn how to lead your feelings. Like you have got to kind of start the process with your actions and then allow the feelings to follow. Well, if you wait to feel like it all the time, the chances are it probably is not going to happen. And sometimes you got to learn to lead yourself from really not just trusting your feelings, but really investing with actions that will lead to right feelings. In fact, I think I wrote that for you. You can write that down. Right feelings follow right actions. And so I gave you another tool to help with this, okay? This is a coupon, and it's good for one romp in the hay with your spouse, okay? Some of you, like, you just need to get some right actions going and the feelings will come, okay? Like some of the, like, you don't feel like it, whatever. Like for some of you, like the most spiritual thing that you can do, the most intimate thing that you can do, the most kind of godly thing you can do is have sex with your spouse. And I'll say to you ladies in the room, like, especially in this spot, we got to understand this, like if your husband is not enjoying that from you, he has no other options, okay? Any other option that he tries to exercise is sinful. You are his only option for that kind of fun and enjoyment. And I want you to hear this, like from a godly perspective. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, like the husband's body does not belong to himself. It belongs to his wife. And likewise, the wife's body does not belong to her. It belongs to her husband. You guys made a commitment, a covenant to each other. Like this is how God designed you to be. And so sometimes we just need to get out one of these coupons. It's cool. It says it never expires. I don't care how old you are. One of our guys on staff, we were sending it around via email, like, hey, how's this look, guys? Should we give this out or not? Like, how's this going to hit the church, you know? And one of the guys emailed back. He's like, hey, can I get a few of those? I want to make sure they work before we give them out. Just to know the kind of staff that you have here. So this coupon is good for one romp in the hay. And here's the deal. It's given out to people with rings only, okay? We're going to check your rings. Like, this is for God's design for marriage. And we believe that this kind of fun, right, is going to develop the kind of intimacy and the kind of fun in our marriages that God is calling us to have. Face to face, side to side, and belly button to belly button. You guys good with this for your life? You okay? Good. I want to give you 5 things before we leave that destroy intimacy in your marriage. One is this: anytime you deprive, withhold sex from each other. Anytime that you're intentionally withholding back, you're trying to maybe on the other end trying to manipulate or coerce or demand sex from your spouse. These are spots that I don't believe God intended us to ever be. And as we get there in our hearts, we need to step back and take a look and go, why am I doing this? Why are we in this spot? Another thing is this, like your bedroom. I believe that it needs to be like a sanctuary. It needs to be like this safe place for you and your spouse. And sometimes you got a conflict going on and you guys get into bed and the conflict is still going on while you're in bed. Here's one of the rules that I think just needs to lead our hearts in so many ways, is that you need to protect that marriage bed. You need to make that a place that's sacred, that's holy, that's like a sanctuary, that's really a spot where you don't fight. If you got conflict, go downstairs, go to the kitchen. Go to a neutral spot where you can talk this through together. But don't allow that to become a spot where you're fighting and arguing and bickering and in bed. If you got clutter in the room, like clean it up. Like put on some candles. Like get that sanctuary tuned up to where it smells good. Like not your dirty socks, man, right? Like pick them up. That's why she's telling you to pick them up. Make that spot a sacred spot. Don't allow it to get corrupted with pain and brokenness or manipulation or deprivement. Like allow that to be a spot that God can bring the intimacy and the unity that he's designed for your marriage to have. One of the things that kills intimacy, I put it there, going to bed angry. Another thing, screen. Maybe it's a TV in your bedroom. Maybe you need to get rid of it. Katie and I talk about our cell phones all the time. Like, man, disciplining ourselves, put those things away. Not allow that to just be our kind of evening together, is looking at our cell phones together. Not very intimate, is it? Force ourselves to talk. Screen time kills intimacy in our marriages. I'm going to challenge us this way. I believe that God has called us to have a lot of fun in our marriages. I'm excited. Some of you are going to want to try to take a stack of these romp in the hay, man. Like save some for the later services, okay? Like I get it. Take a bunch, okay? That's fine. But save some, okay? You guys are all going to be smiling when you walk in here next Sunday, aren't you? I'm excited to see what that looks like. I love your life. I believe that God is calling us to have marriages that honor him, that are fail-proof, and having fun is a massive piece of having marriages that are fail-proof. I want to pray for you. Would you stand to your feet today? Maybe just close your eyes for a moment, because your heart on God. And if you don't know Jesus, you're in the room today. We exist as a church so that you would know Jesus, follow him, trust him with your life. See, God loved you enough to send his son to die for you. Because of your sin, you're separated from God. Because of your imperfection, you can't be in relationship with God. The only way for you to be in relationship with God is to be perfect. The only way that you can be perfect is through his son, Jesus Christ, who took your sin and your shame on himself on the cross. Like, this is the good news, that he went already. And all you and I need to do right now is to put our faith in him, that he can take our pain and our shame and our guilt of the past and mistakes that we've made. He could take that right now if you would just in faith give it to him. Tell him, Jesus, I need you to lead this life. I need you to be Lord, boss, in control of this life. I trust you for your salvation, for your mercy, for your grace. You have right relationship with God. You spend eternity forever in relationship with God. It's called heaven. You won't spend eternity separated in torment. It's called hell. We believe these are real places. Eternity is determined today in each of our hearts based on what we do with Jesus. We're praying that you would have the courage today to make a statement, to begin a relationship with Jesus, to begin today, say yes to his leadership in your life. All the eyes are closed in here. I just want to invite anybody in the room right now that wants to begin a relationship with Jesus. Maybe it's been a long time or this is the first time. Right now, today. I want to talk to you afterwards, but right now you're just going to say in faith, put your hand in the air towards God. I want to begin a relationship with Jesus today. Maybe it's been a long time. Maybe it's the first time. Just put your hand in the air all over the room. Everybody's eyes are closed. Right now. There you are. I see you. It's awesome. It's awesome. That's so cool. Good job. Good job. You can put them down. Jesus, we love you. God, we just thank you for all these hearts that are being transformed right now, God. Pray that you give them the courage, God, to take the next step. Whether it's getting baptized, God, connecting into a group, God. Pray that you use us as your church, God, to help everybody trust you, follow you, know you, Jesus. Lord, I pray, God, for every marriage in the room, God, that's struggling with intimacy. Lord, that you would just bring a massive amount of fun to our marriages, God. That you'd bring an enjoyment and a passion, God, to our marriages. I pray, Jesus, that you would just God, just bring a hope and excitement into our hearts, God, as we learn to develop intimacy in our marriages, Lord. We love you so much, Jesus, and want to have marriages that honor you and want to have marriages that are a ton of fun, God. More than roommates, God. Give us a passion to grow in intimacy with you and with each other, God. Outside of you, none of this is possible, God. We trust you to lead our hearts, to lead our lives, God. We love you so much, Jesus. I pray, God, that you would just move mountains, God, in each of our hearts and lives today. Do miracles, Jesus. In your name. Can you say amen, church?